why. It's a lot of old work, but it was kind of nice for me to go back and see how I started, why I'm doing it, and so on. I'm a comic artist and illustrator, but I also paint and I sculpt. Sometimes I do mosaics, sometimes street art, like a lot of different things. There are some examples, kind of all from last year, because I just copied this slide from another presentation. But the new stuff you can find over there. Initially I studied graphic design and typography in this small town in Germany, and this is my teacher from the time, Jonathan, and I was super lucky that he and his partner Elizabeth are this super successful webcomic duo called War and Peace. It's super funny what they do, you have to check it out. And they kind of forced everybody who was there to start doing comics and illustration as well. So after learning how to write comics, I also wanted to make my own funny webcomics. The problem was that at the time I was really sad all the time, so my first webcomics looked kind of like this. There wasn't really a joke here, it was just like feelings that I wrote down and I drew. I made like super many of these like very sad, weird comics, and I was super surprised that a lot of people kind of liked them and shared them. It was cool to get like some attention to my work, but then also the people around me were starting to ask like, are you okay? do you need help? Help. I need help. Thank you. This is the first comic that went like kind of viral for me at the time, from like 2020, and it's still being shared now. Like still a lot of people know me for this stupid little comic, and that's super funny. Okay, so and the reason I was so sad all the time was that I just realized I was gay and I kept falling in love with all of my straight friends, which never worked out, of course. And like I wanted to keep writing about these feelings because it was like a good outlet for them, but at the same time I didn't really want everybody to know that I'm so sad and so gay all the time. So for this like first time I created a character, and that was kind of a fictional character, and I called him the Hopeless Romantic. And this was kind of the main character for these comics that I'd written, and then it was like this person who had the feelings, not me, who was kind of tried to keep it like kind of genderless, even with this weird mullet haircut, and I could keep writing about my heart like very well behind the disguise of this persona. This went on for a couple of years. I made like some zines, even with like origin stories about this character. Like I really went like all the way to convince people that this was like someone that wasn't me. And the style also developed. I'm going to show you some of the comics I did during this time, I guess like 3 years ago. You look at me as if you want to tell me something, but you never answer my texts. We think the same things all day. I think of you, and you think of yourself too. Do we not touch cactuses because they have thorns? Or do cactuses have thorns because no one touched them for so long? This is the last scene I wrote with this character. It was called Manifesto on Love, and like thinking that I was 22 at the time, kind of delusional maybe that I was writing, and I never had a relationship, but yeah, I was like, this is like, I think I was kind of trying to break out from the rules that I thought about love and like trying to rewrite them a little bit. I'm also just going to read you like the first 10 panels or something. When I was younger, I was feeling weird for falling in love with my friends. They were mostly male, and society taught me that being gay wasn't cool. At 16, I was pretty sure something was wrong with me. I was terrified my best friend would find out I love him. Friends were not meant to be loved any more than someone would love ice cream. So I did what every anxious teenager would do. I tried to fall out of love with my friend by sacrificing our friendship. From then on, I restrained myself every time I wanted to be close to my friends. I didn't want them to think I was falling in love with them. I didn't want to fall in love with them, so I kept a safe distance. Love, that tingling feeling in my stomach, transformed into fear. It's kind of weird because it's like from so long ago and it feels like so personal. But I guess at that point I felt like sharing, so that's good. It kind of felt like a confession also, like I admitted that some version of this character was like me, and that was kind of liberating. Then I started coming out of the closet to my friends. I was more happy and more sure about who I was and what I wanted to write about. And I had this realization that I don't really have to hide behind this character anymore, but that I can use characters to put my thoughts into stories and make them much more exciting and dramatic than my actual life. So with this in mind, I kind of put a pause on this webcomic series and started writing like my first graphic novel. It's over like 300 pages long story about these 4 friends who go on a vacation, and a lot of drama starts around the questions of where their relationships as brothers, friends, or lovers, kind of where are the lines between those. This is how it looked like, and I kind of still took the inspiration from like people from my real life and created characters kind of based on, for example, my brother or my best friend. And then I put them in these very fictional situations so I could let them react to what was happening, and that made it very easy for me to write the story. I'm still doing the webcomics that I started, but they changed as well. After departing from this character, I'm trying to approach them more openly, like with more abstract characters or different characters, like they can be a butterfly or like a lizard here. Or then on this side, this is just my ex, like very realistic version of my ex. I'm really trying to be open and not to restrict myself to whatever fits the idea. And even though this hopeless romantic doesn't really appear anymore in the comics, for me it's kind of still the voice behind the comics. I guess I kind of like an alter ego who writes and shares these personal thoughts. Because it's like, as it is so personal, I don't really want it to be about me, so it's nice that it comes like at least for me, from a fictional character. And also, like, my audience keeps growing. This is another one that went kind of viral. There's like hundreds of thousands of people seeing this stuff sometimes, and they also voice their opinion. Like this one said, with every kiss and every fight, we become more intertwined. I mean, for me, that was just like a rhyme. And then people went like super mad. So toxic, and like this one guy said like, this sounds toxic as fuck, bro, let me know when you're single and need a wingman. So it's like, in this case, it's like nice to have like some separation from the characters. And yeah, like 3 months later I was single, so I guess Catch Me Fresh was kind of right. These things like opened a lot of doors for me. So I'm doing editorial work now for the clients that I always wanted to work with, which is super cool. I got to publish a lot of these comics and books. This is with a Spanish editor, but released in Spain. This was a month ago in the street art festival in Romania, where I got to paint on some big walls, which was super cool. So I got to see places. I got invited here, like you can see the other. This is a book that's coming out in October. It's kind of like a children's book. And this is another book that's coming out on Valentine's Day for a German publisher, Edition Moderne. This is the one I read yesterday, and that's gonna come out in France in March. With BDQ, if you know them. And that's all.
Thank you, Eric. So now it's time for Q&A. I will just tell everyone not to be super weird, that when you have a question, I had to repeat it for the record on the microphone. So sorry for this little interruption. So is there any question from the audience to Eric? Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, with your book projects, you seem to have like quite an international scope and like multiple publishers. How did it work? Did you like approach the publishers, or did they approach you with them, or?
Did you approach your publishers yourself, or did they approach you?
Most of them I approached, like the first one, they're actually Austrian but published in German, and well, I was like going around all these festivals and trying to make connections, but I never really had like a project. So this first long one that I just did it because I really wanted to do it. It was also kind of during COVID times, so I had like the time and the space, and I sent like the fully finished manuscript to like a couple of publishers, and this one just immediately answered me like the next morning. And it was like, oh, I've just read it last night, that's awesome, let's do it. So I was super lucky. And the French one, for example, also I sent them like a little zine version of this story that then they say like, oh, we like it, can you adapt it into like a 200-page book? And only for the first time now, the Edition Moderne, they asked me if I want to do a collection with them. But also because like I've been sending them stuff that I do for like 3 years now, so I'm like really harassing them and being like, hey guys, I'm still here. So it's not like they were just like, they kind of asked me, but I was definitely asking for it. Also. Yeah.
Great. Any other question?
No, I have a question. Does the pressure of the, because you're quite public, so you have a lot of feedbacks, negative, positive online, does that in some way or form affect your work?
Do the comments online affect your work?
The comments, not so much. I always just like this, I find it more amusing if people get so kind of intense about these things, that for me it's like a piece of art and they think I'm like trying to impose some rules on them or something. Like, guys, I just made like a drawing, so this is kind of more funny for me. But it's definitely like the feedback, positive or negative, is more for me that how some things like work so well on social media than others don't. Like I'm really into painting right now, but whenever I post a painting, it gets like 5 likes and nobody looks at it. It's just because the algorithm is like, I guess, like these comics are so shareable and my followers know me for that, so this is what they react to. And then when I post a painting, they're like, doesn't work on the platform for me, which I know is like super fine. I don't need it. Like my peers, my friends in Paris, everybody like gives me the feedback that I need to know if this is like a good or a bad painting. But it's so hard to differentiate from your mind, like you put so much work into something and then it gets like less validation and other stuff, and it's like you really have to remind yourself like, okay, it's just like some likes and shares, doesn't matter at the end of the day, you know. But definitely affects me a little bit.
And did this somehow like change during the time? Because I guess like there could be some like process, like when you first share publicly your like super intimate stuff, it can be different than when you do it like so many years. So how was it for you?
Yeah, it's super different, but also like, I don't know, I guess I could talk about this for an hour because then also 10 years ago, Instagram was so different than it is now. Then I was like living in a different place, I had a different group of people around me, and you have less followers, but the interactions seem more personal. Then there's like so many more people, then at some point I stopped posting like any personal stuff at all because I was like, this may be like super unprofessional to just post like a selfie now to like 100,000 people. Like, why do they like follow me for my work? But then I have like weeks where I'm like, I don't care, this is my Instagram, I will post whatever I want, you know. So it's really changing, yeah, a lot.
Do we have some other questions?
what really happened to the books which are currently on sale at the shop?
With the oil.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was shaving and my shaver went out of battery, so I was like, I really need to figure out how to shave in Prague for my presentation. So I got this shaving oil, which was like opening up in my bag, and this is why the books have oil stains.
Cool. I bought one, so.
Thank you.
So this is even more intimate.
Get them, it's only 2 left.
Any other question? Is there some? I saw some raising hand. It's a little shy, but no? Yeah.
I noticed that lots of your pictures have kind of lines to them, right? I was wondering if you work like this often, that you first come up with a line, or a thought, and then you draw from it, or I was wondering about that.
So in short, do you start with drawing a line, like outline? No?
No, like line of text, you mean?
Text.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I usually like 99% start with text, I would say. This is one of the more like examples that I would, but even in this I first like have some thoughts and I write them down in words, and then I kind of become my own like editorial illustrator, and I stand myself down with the text and like, how can I show this in an image, But I usually really start with text. Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Eric. I guess if you have more questions, just grab Eric after the talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.